Welcome to Yury Experience, and today I want to talk to you about the fact that I don't like that I look into world politics. Obviously, I can't say that I do it all the time, and also I can say that I really look into each individual country. Mostly in the countries that I lived in, the countries where my relatives are, like the countries that are kinda important for the world, more or less. These are basically the countries that I'm not really interested into politics, but somehow news come to me. It happens normally because I have relatives, I have friends in different countries, and they post different information, being it on social media, being it somewhere else, and that's how I kinda find information. Because I'm not interested in politics, I don't have a TV, I don't look into this stuff specifically, because of various reasons, and partially I covered that already, actually in one video, I think so. But anyway, I'm not interested in politics. Basically, I don't like politics because they're not objective. There's no objective view on what is happening. There are like a lot of subjective views, and the views in one country can be different to the views in the other country. And also, normally, if you want to build an opinion, you need to cover a lot of information. You need to cover historical development, how it came to this development in politics right now, or in social situation, or in economical situation. Because always, freaking always, there are some roots in history which brought this current situation to life. It's not like nothing happened and now we have this. No, there's like a hell lot of years ago happened something and now we have this. Also this, but also some other things. Like, that's too much information that I'm not really interested in knowing about. And I will actually touch a reason why I'm not interested in that a little bit later in the video, but I want to discuss with you why I'm so disappointed in myself that I'm so interested in world politics, and why I don't like the fact that world politics have as big influence on myself as they do. Let's go. Obviously, prior to talking about that, I have to tell you that this is Yury Experience and I'm Yury. Here I share my different opinions and I do 2 videos per week, Mondays and Thursdays. I like both of them. If you will enjoy this video, please drop a like. You can also subscribe to the channel or write your own opinion in the comments. I think for today's video I have to tell it. And except for that, let's go. Overall, I wouldn't say that the interest in foreign politics and foreign policies around different topics is a bad thing. It's not, in my personal opinion. You can learn a lot from how different people deal with something and learn from their mistakes in order not to do them themselves or yourself. Learn from others, do better. But also, as I mentioned, the development that you see at that moment or during that problem or that issue or that situation came to life because of different various reasons, and a lot of them happened like prior to that moment, some of them happened at that moment, and there are like a lot of context that you need to know. That is why, although it is a good thing to learn from other people, other situations, other countries, sometimes it's pretty nonsense to do it. It will not help you anyway. This whole idea is connected to my first example for today's video. This video's original topic was more why I look at USA and hate myself for it. Basically, USA have a lot of social issues, and that's obviously nothing surprising, because USA is like melting kettle or whatever the name, melting pot of different cultures, different people. Obviously, some of the people will not be on good terms with other people, and there will be some situations, some developments that are not that good. So technically, from how USA government or people or whatnot deal with these situations, we could learn for other countries how to deal with it. But the biggest problem that I have with that is the fact that USA not only has a melting pot of cultures, but has also a long history, really long history of how USA deals with this cultures, with these nations, different nations, or different, if you want, races, or the nations that live in the country. There's like a long history that was prior to now that led to to some degree to how people deal with some of the stuff nowadays. Which is why, although it's not bad to look at USA and think, okay, I will learn something from it, you shall remember the fact that the country that you are currently in is different than USA. There are some similarities in terms of how people deal with other people, how majority deals with minorities. But overall, USA is a country with its own history, with a lot of different topics like slavery, segregation, redlining. These are things that come on top of my head. And most of that is in the past. But still, that's something that was in there and that people still deal with on some level right now. Can I say that these things, for example, are the root for all the problems? Definitely no. There are a lot of problems that are right now that have little to nothing to do with those things. They were maybe the initial root, but since then happened more than enough time, except maybe for redlining, that it's almost forgotten. At least people try to forget. World doesn't work like that. People don't work like that. People don't forget stuff like that easily. You know, there are a lot of reasons for that. Anyway, these are some reasons which could lead to some problems in USA. But if you have the similar problem in a different country, the reasons could be different. For example, racism problem in Russia is different than racism problem in USA. The roots are completely different. They have similarities in terms of how people think, but Russia have never had slavery in terms of black people, white people have black people slaves. Russia never had it, never. Still, Russia has a lot of racist tensions. Why? Because, for example, of a little amount of experience of white people with black people, because amount of black population in Russia is really low. So it's not really surprising in my personal opinion. And obviously I can't tell you how much racism right now is influenced by slavery prior to now, and I made a video about that already. But to say that it is something completely irrelevant would be wrong, at least nowadays. Nowadays this topic is still very relevant for USA ideas in terms of racism and how people deal with other people. And since I talked about racism, I have to touch the topic of BLM, because it is something that, based on my experience and my knowledge, appeared in USA, and other countries tried to take it from USA and say, okay, we will do it too. But whether it makes sense to deal with that in the same way, in the same scale as USA does it, is a big question in my personal opinion. As you probably know, around 1 year ago was this Mr. Floyd situation, which led to a lot of protests, riots and whatnot, which were connected to some degree with BLM movement, and that happened in USA. And people in Germany also, and in Great Britain, according to my knowledge, also decided to go onto the streets in order to support USA. But Germany and Great Britain have pretty much different level of racism towards black people, and also police brutality towards black people in comparison to USA. Obviously, problem is there. I wouldn't be a person who would tell, no, there is no racism in Germany. There is racism in Germany. There is racism in Great Britain. In my opinion, racism in USA is on a different level, has different reasons. Which is why to deal with it in the same way is strange thing to do. Another example why that whole situation of BLM 1 year ago was something that was specific for USA and didn't have to go abroad was what actually happened. A lot of radical ideas were spread during that time, and a lot of really strange things happened. For example, white people washed legs of black people. I think that was the case. If I'm not mistaken, these white people were policemen, but I'm not really sure about that. You can look it up. It's not some sacred knowledge. You cannot find it. You can find it. And obviously, For people outside of USA who don't know this whole tension and who don't have experience with that in the same way, would think that that's completely strange behavior. I mean, even for USA, in my personal opinion, that is a strange thing to do, and it's not like, it doesn't lead to your target, but I rest my case there. But stuff like that destroys the whole image of the movement. I had to tell people from other countries, obviously not from USA, that that is something radical, that is not normal behavior, because people would think that is what BLM is about. It's about white people being in the position under black people, which is basically inverse racism, or like racism basically is just racism. People who are not from USA will deal with these images, with these videos about some radical stuff happening, and will think it is the case in there. It's not the smartest way to deal with the information, but we need to remember, people don't have an opportunity to call somebody and ask, was it like that actually? Most of people don't have relatives all around the world. I'm blessed with that, but most of people don't. They see stuff like that and think, okay, this movement is actually about superiority of black people. Good luck then trying to prove to the world that black people are not racist. Good luck! And the last topic, which is connected to this topic and will actually go forward to the second example, is fake support. And that is something that irritates me really, really, really strongly. What do I mean by fake support? Let's start from there. Can you remember 1 year ago, these black squares happening everywhere, it was told afterward that we need to delete them, the people need to delete them because it destroys some hashtag stories. That's what I call fake support. The reason for that, why do I call it fake support? Reason number one, it doesn't help. People from that country who have the problem will not see your black square, will not feel it, will not feel your support. Most of the people don't know who the freaking you are. They don't care about you, they care about their own problems. Which is why, second point, it doesn't help. It does nothing. Literally nothing. If you want really to support some organization, movement, or what country, whatnot, look for some phones that help the movement. There are enough of information how to send money to some organizations that help with different issues. It's not difficult thing to find. But no, we need to show, I have to show that I support it. That's why I think that actually not really about helping others, but more about presenting yourself as a good person. I'm a good person. I show my support. I don't do anything. I don't send my money, I don't fight with them, I don't stand on the streets, but I help, I support on social media. Nobody freaking cares. Even country like government, it doesn't care. It doesn't. And that is what brings me to the second example. And I thought a lot whether I shall talk about it, because it's current news and that's a big topic. And after around 3-4 days of thinking, I decided, okay, I will talk about it. And that's about Israel-Palestine conflict and what we have right now. For you it will be 1 week ago. And the first thing that I want to cover there is something that I observed over time, during which I actually watched news. I had TV during some time and I watched news from time to time. During that time I understood one pretty interesting thing. There are always some global news that everybody cares about. All the time. Every half a year or every year you will find some big news and everybody cares about them. At least everybody in the country. I have no idea what people in Kazakhstan care about, but in my country it was in Germany it was like that, in Russia it was like that, and in USA it was like that, in Ukraine it was like that. Like, there's one topic and everybody cares about it. Examples: Ukrainian-Russian conflict, Syrian war inside itself, coronavirus, then BLM last year, then Syrian refugees, not only Syria as a war place, but also refugees from Syria. These were the topics everybody was talking about. But do you want to know what is the best thing about this whole idea? After some time, everybody forgets about it. Like nothing happened. Nothing. That was something that surprised me the most during this whole my understanding. People don't actually care. They care during this is something that everybody talks about, but when it is out of you, you forget about it completely. Zero. The Russian-Ukrainian war, still there. They still have war, conflict between each other. Syrian war, still there since 10 years. I had to look it up today because I want to prepare myself. It is still there. BLM problems, still there. I don't like this whole movement, but the idea behind BLM is really, really good. And this idea, still there, still needed. Do people care? No freaking body. And there is one topic which comes again and again from time to time, around yearly, because that's how it is. Israel-Palestinian conflict. It's a conflict which appeared 70 years ago, something like that, and it is until now. It appeared because a lot of people messed up. Because a lot of people did wrong things, some people did right things, there was a war, there was some development after the war, and then we have right now. I don't want to go into what happened and why it happened and what not. What I want to go into is fake support and total not wanting to educate yourself properly. First, fake support. When the situation happened, I saw on different social medias a lot of stuff in terms of support, save Palestine. I think that's how you call it. And I'm not against saving Palestine. I will talk about it a little bit more in a moment, but overall, yeah, why not? But people, I for sure know that at least half of these people don't know what Palestine is, how Palestine appeared as a country, when did it appear, what was prior to that, what happened during the Israel-Palestinian war, this Israel-Iranian or Jewish-Iranian war, not Iranian, Arabian. I'm pretty sure you don't know. You don't know about how Great Britain and messed up. And you still just have the freaking audacity to just say something without thinking, without really knowing who stands behind Palestine. And there are two governments, they have two governments, and one of that is terrorist organization. If you support a freaking terrorist organization, which is clearly anti-Semitic, by the way, it's written everywhere, they are anti-Semitic, it's not a question thing. You want to kill people. You are agreeing with killing people. If you're okay with it, you do you. Obviously, there is also another government. There is a government in the West Bank, if I'm not mistaken. And that is a different story. Support it. Do your best to help them to develop some solution. But the main reason why I will probably never write Save Palestine or I Stand with Israel, although I have Jewish heritage, is the fact that since 70 years there is a conflict. And both of these countries didn't manage to find a freaking solution. By the way, one of the reasons why they didn't manage to find it is because freaking every possible country decided to mix themselves in this case. A lot of Arabian countries, a lot of European countries, USA, they have to do something. Do they? That is one of the reasons why this conflict exists since 70 years. Obviously, here again with fake support, you post flag of Palestine on your Instagram and you're happy. You did something good. Nobody freaking cares. Palestine will not develop itself only because you help it. By the way, if you support Israel, pretty much freaking same. Israel doesn't care overall. Maybe your relatives care. Everybody else don't. Point. You want to help? Do something. Send money, send support, go there and fight if you want to. I'm not sure whether it is the smartest option, but you do you. But do freaking something. Instagram is nothing. Bad education stuff, I covered it partially already, but also people think that they are smart enough and knowledgeable enough to understand the situations that happened 1 week ago only based on information that came 1 week ago. The fact that eviction stuff that's happening in there is something that happened over decades, that it has long history prior to that, nobody freaking cares. I need to support. I ignore provocation from both sides, from both radical sides, like Israeli side and Palestinian side. Both sides did a lot of freaking bad stuff in order to provocate another party, another side of the situation. But I will ignore what did the part of that I support. Only these guys are bad guys, right? Since this is still a big topic, which I think will remain relevant also in 1 week, but I'm not sure for how long after that, because you know, people forget. I will not tell you like go from one side for another side. I'm not pro-Israel and I'm not pro-Palestine because of the stuff that I mentioned already. Both of the countries didn't manage to find a solution since 70 years. And normal people are the people who suffer. Like, I rest my case. If you think that that is like a reason to support one of the sides, you do you. But what I will beg you to do, I really beg you, don't support Hamas. If you support Hamas, you support like anti-Semitism. Like, poor definition of anti-Semitism. And another thing, Israelis are not only Jews. They are political parties that consist mostly of completely from Arabs. Don't make it appear only because State of Israel is a country that was created for Jews. Don't make it appear that only Jews live in there. They are also living different kinds of Arabs, different kinds of Muslims. Like, I know that's a different concept, but still. Also Palestinian people live in there. Think about it. It's not only Jews. If you are against the existence of Israel, you do you, but also read history how Israel happened to be and what are the reasons, what happened actually, and decide for yourself whether war is something that leads for country to exist, and then look in the history of your own country. But also, if you think that Palestine doesn't exist, look in history. Like, pretty much same stuff. It's not like we need to ignore that the country existed for a couple of thousand years, not 100 years. So it is okay to criticize how Israel government deals with things. Israel government is not holy, there's no government that is holy. But if you think that Israel is only the land for Jews, if you think that the Jews are the reason why all the bad stuff happens, if you think that, I don't know, Jews don't deserve to have their land, like this whole idea, I'm not sure why they deserve it, but if you think that they definitely don't deserve it, all of these things are actually kind of anti-Semitic. And, by the way, the most important thing, which happens right now, like in Germany, Jews from your country don't necessarily have something to do with Israel. Don't go at them and try to fight them. Like, there's anti-Semitism that's happening right now in Germany because of this tension. People are standing right in front of synagogues and shouting some anti-Semitic stuff. People throw stones at synagogues and write death threats. That is happening. Jews from your country don't have anything to do with it. If you want to support Palestine, support it properly. Killing Jews doesn't help. Literally don't. It actually goes against the case. The reason why I became like kind of emotional about this stuff and why like I thought about that for like 3-4 days or something like that, people don't care. People want people to die. Like, people think that if Israel disappears, that Jews will be very welcome in Palestine. Like, think what you want, but that's what happened. People think that if people in Germany will support BLM, then suddenly the racism problem solves itself. It will not happen. People think that like doing radical stuff in USA will help USA to look better on international level. It will not happen. People don't care. There was mass shooting in Russia, like pretty much during a similar time as Israel-Palestinian conflict. Does anybody know outside of Russia and Ukraine, maybe like that countries? Do you know about it? There was mass shooting. A lot of people died. That's a fact. You can look it up, and it was in Kazan, if I'm not mistaken. People don't care, and that's something that I don't get it. Like, people want people to die. Like, they are ready to cut throats and for their own values and their own ego. I don't get it. I literally don't get it. I think that's disgusting. But also that's fake. You think that you do something, you present yourself as if you do something, but you do nothing. I don't know. I hope it will help somebody. If you have a different opinion, write in the comments. I need to do 2 more videos about that. Yeah, good luck to me.